15th, 2023 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm, East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of our Urban League Young Professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, Facebook, and Instagram Live. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. If you want more, visit nuljobsnetwork.com. All right, today's Digital Career Success Series, HerWay, features Ahyiana Angel, former NBA publicist turned media maven, and somebody I'm excited to have on the show today. Ahyiana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Kenneth. I'm excited as well.
Our show usually we follow like kind of a format. And when we knew we had you on and we know your background and kind of what you do, I think the decision to just kind of have a great conversation will be well received. We have one of the best audiences you can find in this type of platform. So everybody out there, please say hello to Ahyiana. And also, you heard me say NBA publicist. We're in the downstretch of the NBA season. Drop your favorite team in the chat, please. Drop your favorite team in the chat. Where my Sixers fans at? Ahyiana, while everybody's bouncing through the chat, let's tell everybody about yourself.
Hello, everyone. As Kenneth said, my name is Ahyiana Angel, and I'm excited to have this conversation today. So definitely feel free to drop your questions because I want to get to everything and I want to pour into you all as much as possible. And speaking of that, that's kind of where my career took a turn. So I started off in PR, did it for a number of years from LA to New York. That's how I ended up at the National Basketball Association doing entertainment PR. And specifically, I worked on things like at the All-Star game, doing PR for the performers, the red carpet, the celebrity game, doing all of that stuff, which was a whirlwind type of experience. I'm not going to lie to you guys. My very first NBA All-Star, I was familiar with the All-Star game, but when I was interviewing for the job, I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be fun!" Like me and my friends, we would go, and I'm just thinking it's gonna be amazing. Little did I know I was stepping into one of the hardest things I would do in my life. You're on for 24 hours, 7 days. It's not 7 days, but the 24 hours feel like 7 days. And everything is just hitting you. There's all these responsibilities. And my very first All-Star was in New Orleans, and I cried. I called my mom and I cried, and I was like, this is a lot. I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know what I should be doing right now. I don't have time to eat. I just felt just out of myself, out of sorts. So anyway, fast forward, I was at the NBA for about 6 years. And
Hold on, Ahyiana. I don't want to fast forward yet.
Okay.
How did you get that position? Tell me, walk us through the beginning of that.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I first moved to New York, I moved to New York and I was working at a PR firm based out of LA. And that PR firm had A-list celebrities, big name clients, did all the PR for all the major cool, hot stuff. So I transferred to New York with that company. Well, someone ended up quitting that company, someone who brought in clients and also then took a major client with them. Oh. And as a result, I was last in, first out, because I was newer to the team. The team in New York was small and they had to cut somebody because this huge client was now being cut from their budget. So I got laid off and I was feeling really unsure, but I knew that I had just started this journey in New York, and I wanted to stay in New York. Everybody was asking me when are you gonna move back to California? When are you gonna? I'm like, I'm not done with New York. New York is not done with me. We still have some business to attend to. So I stayed in New York. I was unemployed. It was hard. It was hard. It was definitely hard. I didn't know anybody, meaning I didn't have any family or any resources like that. And so I was applying for jobs. Came across this job online for the NBA. I didn't know anybody there, but I knew somebody who knew somebody. So I set up like an informational conversation with that person just to kind of understand what the company was about. Completely different department though. So there's really not much that she was able to do for me. But in any case, really when it came down to it, I got the job by seeing the job online and applying for the job. I interviewed for two positions at the same time and ended up getting one of them.
Wow.
And it wasn't, and this is I want to say this to affirm people who think that just because you're applying online you go into an abyss and nobody ever sees your resume. Sometimes that could be true, but that's not always true, and you also have to do things to help you stand out. As a publicist, my cover letter, I made that a press release as though I had already gotten the job, so that I'm
Talk,
sure that
talk to me. Talk to me about that. So. Where's that? Like, I know you're a publicist, right? But you set your cover letter up as if it was a press release, like you got the job. Well, I'm sure that was well received.
I guess so. I guess it was. And I think you have to lean into your creativity sometimes. And some people think that because they have a certain type of career that it doesn't lend itself to them being creative. But we are all creative individuals. If you have ideas that pop into your head, even if it's just an idea for dinner, something that maybe you never made before, you are still creative. You have some creativity within you. So sometimes you have to lean into that creativity and also look around you, look in other spaces that may not necessarily be your industry, and see what other people are doing and see how maybe you can be inspired. Maybe it'll spark an idea that you can then transfer into your industry and then utilize with your skill set. So sometimes it's just thinking out of the box a little bit and trying to be a little bit creative with what you do and thinking, will somebody else do this? And if you know the answer is a definite no, you should definitely do it. Now, don't go stalking people and doing too much, but lean into your creativity is the main thing that I'm saying.
So are you an NBA fan? Were you an NBA fan then? Like,
Nah, nah,
no.
yeah.
So what made that position attractive to you, or were you like, listen, I need a job?
No, okay. So really, I was applying there and at a record label.
Okay.
I got offered both positions. So I had to choose between this record label and the NBA. It wasn't that I had any allegiance to any type of industry other than entertainment. I came from entertainment. So I was staying in my wheelhouse and sort of doing what I knew. And when I seen the posting for this job, it felt like it would be perfect for me because it was a mix of my PR skills and the entertainment background that I had.
Gotcha.
So it for me, it just felt like it would work. But I also was familiar with like All Star and stuff, and I knew that that was going to be a part of the job. And I was a basketball occasional watcher.
Okay.
I wasn't a fan. I'm still not a fan. Because now after having lived years of traveling for finals and going to all stars and just going to games and things like that, when I used to come home from work, I did not want to watch a game because it reminded me of work. It reminded me of work, the things I had to do, my to-do
Well,
list.
I would imagine that while you were working, you probably didn't get to watch much of the games anyway, just because of the other responsibilities with the job.
Yeah. And so when I would be at live games, let's say it was like finals or something like that, the good thing is you have your responsibilities. And then after your responsibilities are done, you can go sit wherever you want, wherever there's an open seat, you can go sit, kind of watch for a minute because you have your credentials, watch for a little bit. But I would always be like checking the time, make sure, okay, I got to be back in the press room at this time, or I have to go meet this person at this time, or whatever it was I had to do. So you could watch, but you couldn't watch like a true fan and really sit there and take in the full experience.
Gotcha. So you do the press release for the NBA, what, for the radio company, but you did a mixtape or something like what,
No, no,
on the
now
radio?
that would have been a good idea. That would have been a good idea. No, I'm pretty sure I did the same press release
Okay.
approach because that was kind of like what I was leaning into right there. And that was like my way to get their attention. And that's the other thing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with everything you do. Just take something that you feel confident in and that you love the way you executed on it and just continue to tweak it.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you received both job offers. How did you decide which one was the best future opportunity for you?
You know, I look at a few different things, and sometimes it's also going off your gut feeling, what you feel like the company or the experience is going to be able to afford you, and then also financially. I was going from being pretty much broke on unemployment in New York. I was going from being broke to, okay, now I have two jobs sitting at my feet. Which one do I think I would, work best in? And also looking at where I thought at the time, where I thought I wanted my career to go. Obviously, that has since changed, but I knew that the NBA also had this name and this reputation that would serve me well. What I didn't know was that walking into that company, I was going to get the biggest learning lessons, the biggest training ground for being a business professional. Because you think of the NBA and you think of sports, you think of entertainment, you think of competition, you think of fun, right? But this is a business, and it is run just like every other business and corporation. And the level of excellence that was expected was beyond.
Wow.
And although I was a good employee, meaning like I came from good stock, I had good training, but this was still training like no other. And I got to do a lot of things that I had never done before. And I had a lot of responsibility, but you also there was an expectation that you show up and you present in a certain type of way. Like, just for example, a small example, an email comes in your inbox. Let's just say I'm prepping for All Star. I'm days out. I'm working late at the office and stuff. An email comes in my inbox. I respond to every email. You know why? Because I was working under the time of David Stern. We'd heard stories where someone emailed someone, that person didn't get back to them. Come to find out, that was a connection of David Stern's, and then he finds out that you didn't email that person back. That's trouble, because we are a business. We are there. So these are our customers. These are our partners. These are, our fans. All of these things. And if somebody needs help with something, even if it's not your area, your job is to problem solve and try to figure out how to help them, or at least push them in the right direction. So
Sure.
that stuck with me too.
Yeah, so let's position this for everyone. So David Stern was the former commissioner of the NBA. So let's just say he's the CEO of the NBA. So you're speaking about people reaching out to you directly that have straight links or lines to the CEO of an organization, and how you
Hmm.
need to communicate and take every communication seriously, because you don't know
Yeah,
where it's coming from. And that applies in any job.
absolutely, absolutely. Nowadays, it's sometimes it's disheartening when you cold reach out to somebody and there's a potential connection for something, but they never say anything back, not even as so much as I'm not interested. And I've even come across this now in this entrepreneurial career that I have, where, I've sent a proposal to someone that they came to me and requested my services, only to have them not respond to the proposal. That is so unprofessional. If you don't want to work with somebody, or if you have thoughts about something, say it. Say it. Take it, close things up, close the loop on things. Don't leave things open ended, because you never know who you may need and how things may circle back around. And now that person has an impression of you in their mind that you don't do good business. Because to me, I would never say that somebody does good business if they don't follow up and close the loop on a connection.
Sure. So let's talk about this a little. So in the average career, communication is extremely important. But I think for you, I think it's fair to say you're a communications professional. Like, this is what
Hmm.
you do. So
Hmm. Hmm.
where did you acquire that skill set? How do you stay sharp within the space of effective communication?
I would certainly say that it started from the beginning. Like, my one of my first internships was at a cable network, called the Game Show Network, and they taught me so much. That was a community there, all of the employees, and I started off as an intern, and they loved me so much that they kept extending it after I graduated. And actually, I'm lying. I'm misremembering. my first internship was at Showtime Networks, and that was through a program called the T. Howard Foundation based out of DC. And if anybody is looking for internships for your little brother, your little sister, your cousin, whatever, and they're in the communications field, definitely look into the T. Howard Foundation. That was a lifesaver for me at the time. I was one of the only interns on the West Coast.
Okay.
Everybody was East Coast, DC, New York based, and I had this internship at Showtime Networks, and they gave me a project that I had to finish by. It's called the T. Howard Foundation, and I had a project that I had to finish by the end of my summer internship. They had everything very well structured. I was in the sales department, sales and marketing, and the people there really took their time with me. They showed me how to be in people's face. Like they wanted me to take the initiative to go and set up meetings with all the senior leadership and find out a little bit more about what they did and how their role played into the larger organization and all those things. So I was pushed into communicating with senior leadership and really showing up as more than just a little intern who was going to get coffee for people and stuff. They never made me do that kind of stuff. They really pushed me to be a business professional for those couple summer months that I was there. So it really started there. And then every opportunity, actually the game show network job, that was a result of the T. Howard Foundation as well. They knew I was graduating and they said, hey, we have this position, this internship, do you want it? Boom, it rolled into my very first position. So I guess you would say the T. Howard Foundation was a part of that structuring because they gave me opportunities to be in positions that weren't just overlooked type of internship positions. They were really get your hands dirty, get into this work, let's build you and mold you to be a business professional type of positions. And then it just kept going from there.
Okay, got you. So the title of this particular edition of the Digital Career Success Series is HerWay. And just kind of following and reading about the way you've kind of maneuvered and moved in your career. So you're working for the MBA, and then you start to kind of look, I guess, ahead towards like what's next. Yeah. Talk to me about kind of when that happened. Was there anything that triggered that, or what the process was around, you know what, I've made a decision that I want to take ownership kind of over where I want this to go moving forward?
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to make this quick how I set this up. So I've always been a creative, right? From a kid, I was writing poems, I was drawing, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes Black parents, they don't have time for all that. We are doing much better. This generation is doing much better about nurturing natural skill sets and things like that. But I knew going to college, my dad was not paying for any type of creative degree. I knew that. So I had to find a mix, and my mix was business and marketing. So by the time I had checked all these boxes and I'm working at the NBA and doing all of this stuff, I've done everything that was expected of me, right? I started to feel like, but this is not something I want to lean into forever. This is not something that I want to do my most senior person in the department, their role. And I was really looking at that. And what I always had this longing to do more with my creative side. And so I leaned into jewelry making. And so I started a jewelry business with a friend of mine, and we had this jewelry business that I was working on the weekends and at night when I wasn't working at the NBA. And it did really well. We had Beyonce wear our jewelry. We had Alicia Keys wear it, Marsha Ambrosius, like so many amazing people. It was an Italian Vogue. It was great. But what that did was,
hold on for a second. So jewelry business. Now, were you making the actual items, or were you kind of behind the scenes doing the marketing and the communication efforts?
No, wow. I was making. These earrings that Beyonce wore in this "We Like to Party," these earrings she wore in this video, I made those with my hands. They were leather with gold studs on them, and I made those earrings. And I remember running home from work to see the premiere of that video on BET. I'm pretty sure it was like 106 in Park or something, to see the premiere of that and just like, oh my God, those are I made those. She's wearing them. Wow. How dope is this? Yes. So that really sparked something in me to lean back into my creativity. and to really start to uncover like what moved me, what I would get excited about, because I knew that the fire for PR had fizzled out, and it was I started to understand myself better, because now that I had done everything that everyone else expected of me, it was time for me to lean into what feels good to Ayana, right? And I knew that PR, wasn't really aligning anymore with how I saw myself and how I wanted to be seen in the world. And I shared this with you before, Kenneth. It's like PR, you have to be on people. You kind of got to be low key annoying. You have to like really just be like chasing down the leads and things like that. And that just wasn't my personality. I'm more laid back. I'm more like, oh, you don't want the story? Okay, moving on to the next, you know? And that's not the best way to be in PR. And I don't think I'm an annoying person. So I was like, you know what? This is no longer mixing well with my spirit. Okay. I got to figure out what works for me and what's true to me. And the jewelry making felt really good to me. It also gave me my first glimpse into entrepreneurship, what that looked like. I love when I was able to take off for the day and go and be at a video shoot or a photo shoot, or go to the showroom and see my jewelry there and stuff like that. And so it really also introduced me to people who were carving out their own lane and doing well at it too. And it just kind of gave me that fire, like, you could do more. There's so much more in you, but like, are you just gonna sit on it and let it just lay dormant here forever and always wonder? Or are you gonna do something with it? So then that sparked me to start taking classes. I'll start taking all types of classes while I was working, just to figure out what would light me up, what I would be drawn to, what I would be interested in, and what could maybe uncover something that I didn't even know about myself. So I would highly suggest that people lean into whatever your interests are, lean into it on the side. Start taking classes, and not just show up and decide, oh, okay, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I want to do this, I want to do that, and then just start doing it. Really research it. Really get some intern for somebody. You know, really get some skin in the game so you can understand and feel what it really is that you think you want to do next. I
You
feel
know,
like you something you want to say.
yeah, I love that. And I'm wondering, I'm just curious. So when you decided to get into the jewelry business, now I know when you came to the NBA, you kind of networked through and you were speaking to people that weren't even in the department that you wanted to work in. So you were kind of expanding your network and getting some intel. When you decided to, I guess, let's say switch and
Mhm.
move towards your jewelry company aspirations, who were you speaking to? Were you speaking to jewelers or speaking to people that have a creative business that were able to give you feedback on kind of what to do and what to look for?
You know, to be honest with you, I have never had a real mentor. I've always just kind of made my way, and I've had different relationships that have poured into me, but there wasn't anyone that was like guiding me, or that I went to and said, "Hey, you're doing this. How can I do it too?" Because at the time, there it, there was a lot of emerging talent in this space, but it didn't look probably how it looks now. And so I would say the person that I was going to the most to get insight was my publicist at the time. He was doing, yeah, funny enough, he was doing all of this jewelry and fashion PR. His name is Purvis Ross. He was amazing at it. And he was the one that was really pouring into me and my business partner about what the industry standards were, the things that we needed to be doing, what the business looks like, and all of that stuff. So those were the type of people that I was speaking to, people that I had just natural connections and relationships with.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go here. I want to speak about this, and I think I want to spend some time in this space. So switch, pivot, or quit is created.
Mm-hmm.
How that happened, where that come from, and I
Yeah.
love these photos. By the way, I know our producer Dory Brown had commented on the photos. Great photos. You always look like you're
Thank
having
you.
so much fun, so I can appreciate that. So talk to us about the whole process. Like, what's the switch? Tell
Hmm.
us about the pivot, and then just the decision on quitting or quitting.
Yeah. So it's funny. When I was in my last days of working, in sports entertainment PR, I was really leaning into what am I going to do next and trying to figure that out. And, a lot more of us right now are into self discovery, self understanding, and just kind of trying to be more intentional with the things that we do. That kind of self work, it wasn't really at the forefront for me like that then. It wasn't the buzz that it is now. So this was me just following what felt natural to me, trying to find resources that would pour into me. And when I created the Switch Pivot or Quit podcast, I wanted to create conversations that I felt would have served me when I was making my transition from one career to the next. When I was trying to think, when I was at the NBA trying to think, what am I going to do next? I would have wanted to hear the stories of these women who were transitioning and had transitioned and what they did and how they did it. So the first step out was I wrote a book. So I spent 9 months, my last time at the NBA, I spent 9 months every weekend, every night after work. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. I was having no good time, okay? Because I was going home and I was writing. I was committed to writing this book because another part of my creative side was I knew that I wanted to write a book. I had written a couple storylines and started drafting some things out when I first moved to New York. And so now 6 years later, or 5 years later, 4, whatever, I'm like, I need to write this book. And for me, naively, I was thinking, this book, this will be my way out. I'm gonna be a writer now, and da 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 da. Right? Okay, yeah, no, it didn't quite work out like that. But I
share with the audience the title of the book and where they can find it, though.
Okay, so the book is called Preseason Love, and when I tell you once again, you have to lean into the things that interest you. So how this book came about is I started researching and writing the book. Right? I'm doing all the research that I can do. Then a friend of mine, I'm in Miami at finals. A friend of mine who knows that I'm working on this book, she calls me and she says, Ahyiana, there's this writing boot camp that Zane, the author Zane, is hosting in Maryland. You should go. I'm like, oh gosh, thank you so much for telling me. I look up the writing boot camp. It will be like 2 or 3 days after I come back off the road from finals. I'm like, oh my, how am I gonna make this happen? Da 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 da. But I'm in Miami miserable, meaning I don't want to be where I am anymore. So I said, you know what? I need to start making these plans. I call my friend in DC. Can I stay with you? I book my rental car, all of that. I get home. I go right, turn right around, get on the road. I go to Maryland. I go to that writing boot camp. I meet her publishing director. I wasn't ready to release my book right then and there, but I was almost done. I had been doing my work on the back end. Her publishing director said, stay in touch with me. I did. When I was ready, that's how I sent my book to her. They loved it. And my book was then published. Preseason Love was published under Zane's imprint with Simon and Schuster.
Wow.
So yeah, so it all kind of it was happening. It was all, but I was operating in flow and didn't even know it. One thing was flowing to the next, but I was also very, very positive about getting a book deal too. I knew that I was going to get a book deal. Self-publishing wasn't as popular then, but it was still on the rise. And people were saying like, oh, well, you can just self-publish. And I clearly told people, I will not be self-publishing. I will only self-publish if every single major publisher tells me no. So thank you for your advice. Thank you for your suggestion, but this is the way I'm gonna do it. And it worked out. And I got my first book deal. And then let's say this. I quit the NBA, no book deal. Didn't even know what was gonna happen. But I believed in myself. I spoke to my parents and my dad was like, do you believe in this? Absolutely 100%. He was like, then we behind you, do it. Now, mind you, still just note, even though my parents were behind me, they were behind me emotionally, not financially. No, I still had to make it on my own. So quit, then finished the book. 4 months later, got a book publishing deal, moved to London, lived there for about 4 months. I remember getting the final copy of the final proof of my book cover when I was in Madrid, Spain, in this little single person hotel room. And I was just like, I'll never forget this moment. I will never forget this moment. It was amazing. Come back to the States, do a book tour. Everybody is inquiring, like, how did you do this? Because this people weren't doing this at this time. Everybody thought I was crazy for leaving this company that people would love to work at. And so then I get this book publishing deal. Now I'm having this book tour and I'm just doing my thing. And people are just like, how? Like, what? And for me, I wanted to not only, I wasn't so much concerned with sharing my story. I wanted to just share by the Switch Pivot or Quit podcast creating it. I just wanted to share how you could do what you thought you couldn't do, how you could mix your life up and change things.
So when you were laying out the business plan, like basically in writing the book, your back end plan was always to have a podcast kind of off of the book. No?
Nope. Nope.
All right. Talk to me
let
about
me
how that thought came about. And
let me
then
tell you
and then how that turned into you uplifting and supporting the careers of other women.
yeah. Let me tell you something about me, Kenneth. I make decisions and I move.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not sometimes I tell some of my friends sometimes you too slow to move. You gotta move. You gotta move. You gotta try things. You gotta do things. If it does not work, now you know. On to the next. If you are always contemplating and planning, you're gonna plan yourself right into paralysis and you will never bust a move, you'll never do anything. And then you'll be looking around you like, how did they do that? Because they did something, they took some type of action, right? So for me, I was just concerned about writing this book and letting that be my segue to my next thing. Once I wrote the book, I started realizing the feedback was in such a way that maybe I was doing something different for people, a little abnormal, and they wanted to understand it. So, me then creating the podcast was a vehicle to help other people. That was it. And the only reason that I created the podcast is because that felt like a medium that was approachable to me. Clearly, I like to talk, okay? And that felt like a way that I could have conversations that would serve other people and be the conduit to those conversations, but also find like maybe something else that moves me at the same time. Because I was also realizing that just sitting in a room writing wasn't going to work for me. I'm not going to be sitting in a cabin for, 8 months out of the year writing books. That's just not
Yeah,
that's not my
that's
thing.
not you. Yeah, that's
It's
not
not
you.
me. It's not me. So this was a nice marriage of the things that I had done and knew up until that point. But what I also didn't realize was that some of my skill sets that I had gained from my PR and marketing career would then serve me in this podcasting space. And then I leaned into that. And that's how we got to where we are now.
And those transferable skills are always important. As you've
Right.
kind of navigated the podcast space and you've done these interviews and you've communicated and probably done a lot of research with other podcasters about how to be effective, just from a conversation as we're looking, it's Women's History Month, and as we're talking about women in careers and kind of how they move forward, even past any of the obstacles or
Mm.
biases or just things that happen that make you believe that you can't do it. Is there a general theme that you've kind of sensed from women entrepreneurs and or women that are looking to move their careers forward in some type of way that may be holding them back or maybe advancing them? That's the other side of it. Like, what's the general theme on both ends?
So I feel like the theme for advancement is the action. Like I was saying, you have to be quick to move, and not quick to move in that you make hasty decisions and you don't think things through. It's like, but once you thought it through, once you vetted it a little bit, once you've maybe done some research and kind of figured out a little bit more of the lay of the land, you have to take action. Action oriented people are the people that figure things out quicker, right? Because what you think you might want to do or what you think might work, it might not. But the quicker you figure that out, the quicker you can move on to the next thing that will work for you, right? So I would say action is a big factor in people who are able to continue to excel in the areas that they gravitate to, or just in life, period. And then I would say there's a lot holding us back, right? There's so much more holding us back than propping us up. And some of those things are just self-confidence, um, shyness, feeling like, oh, I don't want to be the one to stand out. I don't want to be the one to toot my own horn. I had to realize quickly, while I was busy doing PR for all these other people, I had to then turn into my own publicist very quickly and learn how to write my own bio, tell my own story, toot my own horn, tell people what makes me dope, what makes me amazing, what makes you want to connect with me and see me. And I think so many of us are used to being in these corporate spaces and not being seen. And I was the same way. I was overlooked a lot. And I realized though, if I hadn't started doing that self-work and taking a chance on myself and really pouring into myself, I would never have gotten to where I am now. I would never be sitting here with you right now. I would still be behind the scenes somewhere trying to push somebody else's dream, somebody else's narrative and their agenda for not enough money either. Okay, let's be clear about that.
Well,
So
we're appreciative of you being here on the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. I just continue to just marvel at the way you've managed to not only position yourself to what you were speaking about, to position yourself and to show people your unique realness and your value proposition and what you bring to the table, but also to openly gift that to other people as well.
oh, I love that. I love that. For me, one of the things that I noticed when I was making my transition was there was not enough just genuine support of other people. No quid pro quo. I did not know, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you. I am a natural person that likes to help other people, connect other people if I can, if it's within my wheelhouse. And I was thinking about it one day and I was like, so a lot of things, a lot of opportunities and things that come to me, they come to me. I don't seek them out. And I was like, geez, should I be more proactive? Am I like dropping the ball somewhere? And I was like, but why do these things come to me? Like some amazing things. I've had opportunities to speak at places like Google and Spotify. These things have come to me. But you know why? I realize it's because I give and I connect with no agenda. I have gotten people jobs at some major companies, but I wasn't getting them the job so that they could then get me a job or give me a discount or hook me up. No, it was because I knew the person or I knew what to do to help them. And I don't mind pouring into people. And so I finally had to realize that's why sometimes things come to you without you looking for them, because you're giving in other ways. And so this is just the universe's way of giving back to you. You didn't even make the direct correlation because you're just doing what you do.
Wow. So I find that really interesting because I think sometimes people don't see it in themselves. So for you to make connections through kind of what you view and how you see people, and I'm sure in communicating with them, because that kind of happened with you. Like people were speaking like into kind of, maybe you should explore this jewelry business and kind of let me support you in positioning that for success. So that's really important as we start to kind of look at our circle and our network of influence, right?
It is absolutely important. The people I've heard, people like Issa Rae say like network across, and we really can't undervalue what that looks like, because you don't know where somebody is going and you also don't know what you need sometimes. Sometimes there are things that people right there in your space, right next to you, they can give you and pour into you with, and you don't even know that you need it until it starts to happen. And that's why another just like theme for me has been trying to be open, trying to just be open. I told my little cousin this yesterday, like, you got to be open to what the world wants to offer you. A quick example that I shared with her: when I was thinking about going to London, I called up one of my girlfriends. I only knew one person in London. She had moved from New York to London for a job and she was still there. And I called her up and I said, hey, girl, I'm thinking about moving to London for a little bit. Like, what do you think? Should I do it? And she was like, I'll tell you this. If you're going to come here and you're going to be open-minded and you are going to let go any expectations of America and come here and embrace the experience, do it. If you're going to come here and you're going to expect some of the comforts and everything that you had in America, and be complaining about things because it's not the same, don't bother coming. And so I look at so many things like that now. Like you have to be willing, open minded, and able to lean into the things to get the best from it. And if you're not willing to do that, you need to figure out why you're not willing to do that, right? You need to work through that. You might need to go get you a therapist, talk through that, understand that, okay? And then your world will open up so much more because sometimes we live in these rigid little boxes and we don't even know. Like when you go to a restaurant, you say, I don't try that. I don't eat that. Never tried it before. Don't
Yeah.
even know what it tastes like, but you don't like it. You don't know that you don't like it. Oh, expand your horizons. Open up your frame of reference so that you can have more to piggyback off of, whether it be in conversations, whether it be in community, whether it be in partnerships, relationships, whatever, life experience, business relationships. The more you experience, the more you can share with other people, and the more you know.
So let's talk about the experience and the action. Like you have a new podcast, am I right? Is that what's happening?
Yes, it's called Quit Playing Small. Yes. And that was a spinoff of the Switch, Pivot, or Quit podcast. So I wrote a book called Quit Playing Small. That one I did self-publish because I said, once I do my first traditional book published, then I can self-publish all I want to. So I self-published a book called Quit Playing Small a few years ago. And that's just quick bits to serve my audience, right? The people who need a little something to get them that boost in the morning and to remind them who they are, remind them they got it. They got it, you know? You just need that little quickness. You don't need a long sermon, just the quickness, and then you move on about your business. And so the Quit Playing Small podcast serves up the same thing. Most episodes are 5 to 10 minutes. Longest episode might be 20 minutes.
Okay.
But most episodes are short. Just get your day started in the right direction. Just pour into you, as we were just talking about. It's my way to pour into the people that I want to see rise up, and that's us. That's my people.
And you're such a constant giver. I really, really appreciate that. What's happening here in the photo at WNYC Studios?
Oh, once again, another opportunity that was given to me. I was blessed with. They asked me to basically do like a keynote speech at this podcasting festival for women in LA. This was right before the pandemic. And so I gave a talk on quit playing small, how to quit playing small and get what you want. And it's so funny because after that, so many women were coming up to me and they were like, you should be a motivational speaker. Are you a motivational speaker? And I had never heard that before. And I was like, okay, that's cute. I like that. You know, I had never heard of it or thought of it, but I'm just operating out of this spirit of who I am. I want to see people win. And if I can hype you up, I'm going to hype you up all day, especially if I think you got it, you know? So that was a amazing opportunity. I was nervous. I get nervous every time before I have to do a speaking engagement. I always say yes to these things, but I'm always like, why the hell do I say yes? Oh my God. Okay. You got this. You got this. You can do this. You can do this. I'm practicing and all that. It was nerve-wracking, but I did it and I felt so amazing after. And I felt like what I always try to do is ask God to help me to speak to the people who need to be spoken to. Help me to say something that somebody needs to hear. And after I got off that stage, I knew that was, I had executed on that because of the feedback and the women that were coming up to me. And that's just a part of what I aim to do. I just want to be of service to other people. And I'm always trying to figure out how I can be in better service.
Well, listen, we love seeing you win as well. And we know you're not playing small. You're really out here making a difference. So speaking of making a difference, I could speak to you all day, as you know, but I'd like to share this conversation with our great audience. So let's go into Q&A. And, I knew this was going to happen. I said people are going to be extremely interested in her PR experience. So let's talk about this. I'm going to start here. So would you say the foundation in PR is about relationships, curating and building upon new connections?
Yeah, I would say it's about relationships. And it's about genuinely getting to know people. I think one of the best ways that you can build relationships, and I've heard someone say this, and so I'm reiterating it to you, is to have a genuine curiosity and interest in the people that you want to work with. Not just like I'm writing things down to know the things that I should follow up with you about when I speak to you again, like that you have children or, that you like to vacation in Miami, whatever. No, it's really trying to understand this person and making a true connection, because no, none of us want to feel used. None of us want to feel used ever in life. So the more that we can have a genuine interest in somebody and really talk to them and connect with them on a human level first and not a business level first, the more that they will see your heart and see how you are vibing with them, and they'll feel your positive energy, and then the connection will just flow and it'll be more natural.
So Ahyiana, what tools and resources are you using to maintain your network and to stay kind of front facing and helpful to the people that you're connected to? Because you're connected to a lot of people. How do you manage that?
One of the things that I recently did is I created an opportunity for some people in my industry to get together once a month. And I just said, let once again take an action. I had been thinking about it, and I said, let me just do it. So I
Now,
reached out to
is
people.
that a virtual or a face-to-face opportunity?
Virtual,
Okay.
virtual, because we're all in different spaces and different cities and whatnot. And so I said, these are people that should know each other, because they didn't all know each other. And these are people that I want to deepen my relationships with. And so once a month we get together and we chat. No, there's no agenda, no agenda items. There's no, what can you do for me? Nothing. We just get together and we kick it virtually for an hour. And we all feel so good after we've done it. And so some of the other things that I do is I try to regularly set up like coffee or lunch with people that I know. It's not to do something, the next thing. It's just, I like you. I like vibing with you. What you doing next weekend? You know? And also, if you haven't realized this about me, I'm not stuffy. I'm very much like a real person, and I want to talk to and be around real people. Like one of my podcasting really good friends, somebody I knew way back from my PR days, he has a studio. He has a podcast network of his own called DCP Entertainment. Amazing content. They have this podcast called Say Their Name. Amazing, about a lot of people have been murdered in the Black community by police violence and whatnot. Should definitely check it out. He has a studio in Times Square, podcast recording studio. Chris Colbert. Chris, I went to Chris' office and I'll go there. Me and Chris sipping on scotch, okay?
I love
Just
it.
chilling.
I love it. Yeah.
Just talking. And Chris is one of those people who always thinks of me for opportunities too. So it's just like, it's just vibing with your people. When people have that good connection with you and they feel that good genuine vibe from you, they don't mind being around you. They want to be around you. So that's one of my main things. There's no business science or whatever to it. Just be a person. Be a person that other people like and can connect with. Don't act all awkward and weird and usury. Just be real.
That, being genuine, definitely acting on some of those impulses with good faith in mind seem to be traditional standards that we often forget sometimes in this world of quick social media clickbait and just people looking for something and looking for you to provide, whether it's a like or whatever. But sometimes it's just about, hey, you know what? I appreciate and I receive the information shared.
Absolutely. And check in on people too. Just check in. Just, hey, when people cross your mind, reach out to them. That's something we have a hard time doing, but that's an easy way to stay connected.
So Melissa has a question. She would like to know, what would you recommend as first steps for someone trying to get into PR?
I think it really depends on the type of PR, because there's so many different facets or industries that deal with PR. So I definitely an internship, so that you can understand if that is the type of PR that you want to do, but also understand that the landscape of PR has changed, especially because of social media. PR professionals now serve multiple roles. And I think the more that you get your feet wet and kind of seeing where you think you might want to be, the more you can understand what would really be required of you, and if that's something that works for you. I would say also get your writing skills up, because to be a good PR professional, you have to be able to write. You have to be able to write a press release. There's different types of PR. Like if you want to go into crisis management or something like that, then you might want to maybe take some classes or some kind of workshops or something on negotiation, so you can kind of understand the mindset of people, that persuasive thinking and getting people to think how you want them to think. It's also a good idea to maybe read some books on persuasion and how to win people and influence in high places and stuff like that, those types of books, so that you can start to understand the thought process of people. And it'll serve you in any space, but it'll definitely serve you in the PR space, because a part of PR is somewhat manipulation. It just is.
So is a piece of that the process? Because the back end of that question that was just asked is, how do you build your contact list of journalists and connections for your clients?
You start going to events and stuff, and you reach out to people. And unfortunately, PR, publicists and journalists are always going to have a contentious relationship. They need each other, and then they don't want to be bothered with each other. Like, if that is the nature of the beast, right? But always remember that journalists need you. People who create content, they need you, because they need sources for the content. But you can't come to them with BS. Check yourself. Think, is this storyline worthy? Is this actually noteworthy? Or does this client just want a piece written about them? You have to be realistic. Yes, these journalists need information and need content, but they need good information, good content. And there's even more pressure now to get those clicks, right? So they're not going to just put something up because you asked nicely. They're going to put something up that they think their readers would genuinely be interested in and naturally, quickly click on. So you have to ask yourself and vet that potential storyline and see, like, would I click on this? Is this click worthy? Does this warrant media traction? If it does, send it over, and they'll be your best friend for 5 minutes, only for 5 minutes. And if it doesn't, then you might have to do some expectation managing with your clients.
I think that's foundational to a lot of the career stuff. And, this is what we're kind of speaking about with HerWay. Really understanding and doing the self-assessment on how you add value. I think that's extremely important. So I want to go to another question here. I can't wait for you to answer this, because I think I know what people answer. So they're saying you seem to be an extrovert, and talking and cultivating and maintaining communication seems to come easy to you. What recommendations do you have for people that are introverts? Talk to them.
First of all, stop thinking you're an introvert. Don't own that. Don't own it. Because if you get up and you talk to people and you engage with people, you could be an extrovert too. This is the thing. Sometimes I get annoyed with social media, because it's a good thing and a bad thing. So many people put so much of their ish out there. It is easy for us to start taking on other people's ish. You run down why you an introvert or why you have anxiety and all these different things. And me, as the person reading it, I'm like, well, I feel that way sometimes too. I think like that sometimes too. Next thing you know, I'm self-diagnosing myself. I'm a whole introvert. I'm a whole, I have anxiety, depression disorder, all these other things that I have never been clinically diagnosed with. So sometimes we have to be our own manager of what we allow into our space and into our minds. Because if you start bringing it in, exactly like somebody just said, as a man thinking, you start bringing it in, you start owning it and taking ownership of it. Do not own that. Do not own that title of introvert or extrovert. I don't own that. I don't think of it as a good thing or a bad thing. I am me. If you want to improve your skills and how you engage with people, work on it. Be intentional about working on it. I constantly have to push myself outside of my comfort zone. You think I'm an extrovert, but I could sit at home for a week and not leave my house and actually not talk to anybody. You know why? Because I am on right now. I am on for you guys right now. I am not always on. You got to know when to turn it on, especially know when to turn it on when it serves you. You can't just sit there like a wallflower in the corner and think that people are going to come to you and want to engage with you. It may be awkward as hell. You may be in this networking event and feel like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. I'm sweating, da 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 da. But you got to push yourself, because pushing yourself past your comfort zone is the only thing that's going to let you know what you are actually capable of. If you never push yourself, if you constantly fall into what these other boxes are that people have designed for you, guess what? Everybody gonna pass you by. And I'm not, please know that I'm saying all of this out of love. I am not saying this to come down on you, but I am saying challenge yourself. You are not an introvert. You have more in you. Somebody maybe stifled you at some point in time, maybe dimmed your light, made you mute your voice, made you less confident, whatever it is. Because if you notice, a lot of times people who self-identify as introverts, sometimes there is something, there may be people who are truly introverts, but sometimes there is something that you can pin back to that where you realize somebody made me small. Somebody made me cower. Somebody made me diminish my life. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing it anymore.
No, you're not. Quit playing small. Ahyiana Angel on the Digital Career Success Series today. I want to thank you so very much. I know people are wondering how to stay connected with you. Please check out our IG feed. I know someone on the in the Q&A asked if you're available for connections on LinkedIn as well. I'll let you speak to that. It's a yes. Yeah, you can definitely connect with Ahyiana on LinkedIn. You are amazing today, as I anticipated. I really appreciate you and all you bring, not only just supporting women, but just kind of being a voice for people out here that are looking to just kind of scale up and be all that they can be in the space that they're operating in. I think, you know, people think that that has to be a really, really big thing, but sometimes it's the small movements upward that have the largest impact. So I thank you for helping us move the Digital Career Success Series upward today and have an impact on the lives and the people that jump in on the feed. Ahyiana Angel, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. Thank you all so much for inviting me and having me. And I wish you all nothing but the most success, abundance, and get out there, do the things, and take action.
Take action. That's my theme for today. You really drilled that in. So take action, please. Listen, speaking of taking action, if you're looking to connect with me, please connect with me on all these feeds. You can just visit eastcoastexecutives.com where you can connect through. But I'm on LinkedIn a lot, as Ahyiana knows. I just kind of touch in and stay present there. But thank you all so very much for joining us today. We are going to do it again on March 29th. I'm excited about this one. Both of these people are amazing. We have Ariel Ellis coming through. We have Vidette Coleman Robinson. Listen, they are going to speak about nobody being perfect. We are continuing our Women's History Month series with two dynamic women discussing Black exceptionalism and how it can take a toll on your mental health in the workplace. Again, Vidette Coleman, Ariel Ellis. This is going to be special. Speaking of special, join us, jump in the chat, just say thank you to Ahyiana Angel. I'd like to thank the National Urban League team, the Urban League Jobs Network team, Dory Brown, Wanda Jackson, leading us along the way, and the entire team over there that makes this special. Please come back March 29th, 12 p.m. Register now. You do not want to miss Nobody's Perfect. Ahyiana, thank you so very much. I'm gonna see you running around Harlem sooner or later.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all. Thanks to the team too behind the scenes.
Take care.